Another edition of the Get Made podcast. I'm your host, Hassan Clay, and I have a fabulous show for you today. We want to talk about how sisters can feel protected by their brothers when they reach out in the community. And I have a special guest here today, sister by the name of Aisha Edwards. Some of you may know, some of you may know her, some of you may not. It's not about what you know or what you don't know or what you do know. It's about what it is that she can help us with today and provide information that's going to be pertinent for us as we continue to get made. As men, we're talking about manhood, accountability, development, and enrichment, how we can get made. And this is how we can be supported by our sisters. So, sis, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
So, just introduce yourself real quickly to our audience here, and we're going to jump right into some conversation.
Yes, assalamu alaikum. My name is Aisha Edwards. I am originally from Georgia. This is my home here, and I have been speaking out lately a lot about sisters and how they're to be supported in the community. And
Mm-hmm.
I think over the last year or so, I've been hearing more and more stories that have been presented to me, which kind of elevates the um, the need to speak out and to try to at least inform the brothers that do want to help, of how they can help, and then those that are a little reluctant to help, try to hopefully get them a little bit comfortable with being able to help these sisters out when they're asking for help.
Okay. Well, and I appreciate that, sis, because there are a lot of brothers out here, believe it or not, who are looking forward to trying to be supportive of our sisters in the best way possible. And again, this isn't about having juicy conversation as far as tell all or tell this or tell that, because we're bigger than that. But it is about how, again, we can be as supportive of one another. And I'm hearing you say, like, this has been going on for like a year, something a little bit over a year of you been
Mhm.
hearing various different things. And obviously, being in this space myself, I've been hearing it probably a lot longer than that, right? But
Mhm.
nevertheless, when great minds come together, we can actually try to come up with some solutions on what we can do a little differently, do a little better, and allowing our community to grow and to flourish, and not, in a sense, men feeling like they're predators or being pictured as there's predators, or women feeling like they're predators as well, because you got a lot of men who may feel the same way, right, about various
Mhm.
different women. We having a lot of these gender wars and these crazy gender conversations. And so here I believe our objective is to kind of see how we can make sure that we can get all aligned and get on the same page. And I really want to thank you for being a part of that process and being a part of solution, sis. So
Mhm.
let's jump into this. So tell me one of the things that you feel like as a sister, being, you've heard certain things, you may have felt certain things. What are some key points that you believe that brothers can help out and be more supportive of sisters when they come to them in a way that suggests that, hey, I need your help?
So a lot of this stuff is what we're going to talk about is external. You have sisters that are coming to you for assistance with their husband, or maybe it could be a number of different things. But I want to point out that with everything that we do, it
Mm-hmm.
starts in the home. It starts with yourself and it starts with the home. So,
Okay.
for instance, if you are, in order to serve your community, you
Okay.
have to show like great character to make someone comfortable to come to you in the first place, correct?
Okay.
So one way to serve and one way to help is to exemplify like excellent character with your own wife, right?
Mm.
So the way that you treat your wife at home, the way that you treat your wife in public, the way that you treat your children and your family.
Hmm.
If you hold them with the utmost respect and you're showing that outwardly when you're going out into the community, then a
Hmm.
lot of people will usually flock more to you if they are in need of help, because now they're trusting you. Now, if
Okay.
you're at home and you don't have your stuff together, people are going to be a little bit reluctant to come to you for help.
Then, but how would a person know if your home life is kind of raggedy, if you will, right? You show one face in the community, but then you have a whole nother face at home. How would the community know that this is actually taking place? Especially
So
if a
then,
sister is not, saying, hey, look, or even a brother, hey, look, my wife act like this at home, or my husband be acting like this at home, because they want to cover the faults of each other, right? So how would they
mhm.
know that this is taking place?
Well, the individual has to speak out.
Okay.
The person in that home that is being mistreated, you
Uh-huh.
must speak out. You have to
Okay.
speak out. And it doesn't have to be as extreme as being abusive. But
Okay.
when you talk about abuse, you definitely have to speak out. If it's something just small, or even speaking with your sister, someone else that lives in a community with you, and then
Mm-hmm.
having her to speak with her husband on your behalf, so that he can go to that brother and say, hey, this is what's going on. This is
Okay.
what your wife has shared with my wife. And so it's not, in this case, it doesn't become backbiting. This is a close circle we're talking about. We're not
Okay.
talking
So
about, right, blasting it to
so
the
if I'm
whole
hearing
world.
you say, if I hear you say that correctly, then it's like if my wife say, hey, I'm going to your best friend or my best friend's husband, and I know y'all have a good rapport with each other, and maybe he can pull your coat to certain things that might be taking place to help you, straighten your crown, if you will, right? So this is what
Exactly.
I'm hearing you say.
Exactly.
Mm, okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
And see, the thing is, that's the
Now,
respect between the brothers as well that they
mm-hmm.
have with each other.
Okay, so you're saying if brothers have a good rapport with one another, then there shouldn't be a fear with, because I know some brothers might even say, and I'm sure you probably heard this before, I'm not going to be going in another man's house trying to straighten up his house.
See, when you
Right.
do that, though, you have to think about your whole community.
Okay.
Because if you don't say anything, you don't get involved. This is why the
Hmm.
community is in the shape it's in now. I'm from the
Okay.
South, and so I know and I've witnessed good
Hmm.
community, good
Okay.
community interaction. Meaning
Okay.
that if I'm outside, everyone knows who I am. Everyone knows who my family is, right? If something
Okay.
happens to me, they know exactly what house to go to. And
Right.
if I'm doing something wrong with me, I not me particularly, but if someone is out and they need help or they're doing something wrong, they
Hmm.
have no problem with you coming to them and telling them about it. So this is another ego check thing. You have to
Mm.
be humble,
Okay.
check your ego. Allow someone to tell you, hey man, you're not stepping right, you're not moving right. And if you continue to do this, this could possibly happen. This may be better received from an elder,
Okay.
specifically an elder that has been married for a very long time, which
Okay.
has, we just had this conversation just a couple of days ago with a sister, and I was like, I'm kind of concerned for the for every generation, because when do we really see long-term marriages anymore? They're so,
Mm.
they're so just quick. And I'm sorry to say, but it kind of seems more, this is from my perspective, it seems more frequent in the Muslim community for me, because I come from a Christian community. Christians
Right.
are allowed to date, right? So it
Right.
kind of seems like in the Muslim community, marriage is now being diluted down to like dating, which is much
Right.
more than that. Because when you're getting married, no matter what your religion is, when you're getting married, you're both buying into each other on a
Hmm.
level that you do not do with anyone else, even your parents. You don't buy in on the same level with your parents that you do when you're married with your spouse. And so everything goes in, especially from a woman's perspective. I can tell you that when we're married,
Hmm.
we go all in financially, time, and the thing is, like, pretty much we don't see anything or anyone else except for our husband and our family. You
Okay.
understand? So
Okay.
it's a big buy-in, and I think that if men in the community want change in their community, then
Mhm.
they'll remember that you have to remember that it starts at home. So
Well,
however that looks.
let me jump in with you right quick, because
Mhm,
I don't want to lose that point. And
mhm,
you make a point, and I know you make the point in between the Muslim community and other faiths, like the Christian community or whatever, right? And where some rules apply and don't apply when we start implementing them. For instance, within let's say the Christian community, where they may date and they may have long-term relationships where they never get married, but they have
mhm.
something that looks like commitment, even though they didn't get married, right?
Correct.
But we know as Muslims, and that's something that we really can't truly partake in. We ain't gonna act like the people who do, they don't, right? But if we were to say everything is above board and we gonna call it all square, right? In most cases, people are getting married. Muslims get married, right? For the most case, they get married
Right.
because they don't want to get caught into anything like fornication. I mean, because there are different rules and different things that apply, right? And I don't want to get on the soapbox here, but I'm actually getting ready to make a point. When you then say a person is diluting the marital process by marrying, divorcing, divorcing. So then you have, in a span of 5 to 6 years, or a span of 30 years, a person got married at 20. By the time they get to 50, they probably have about two, three, four possible relationships,
Mhm.
right? Some a little more, some a little less, right? But they have these things because it's easy to get married and it's also easy to divorce, right? And so then people don't, you're, what I'm hearing you say is that there's not a serious accountability that is
Right.
taking place within the community for men towards their women, some instance women towards their men. And so therefore, if a man then is being pulled, his coat is being pulled, right? His coattails is being pulled by another man saying, hey, look, this is something that we got to do a little better than. I'm gonna keep this between you and I, but hey, bro, your wife's saying you tripping, right? And this is an elder. What I'm hearing you say, that for you and your belief in what it is that you've been hearing from other sisters and other people, that this is not taking place.
Correct.
Hmm.
So we are
Okay.
having, so I can speak from my personal experience, and then the others, some sisters I spoke with, and a lot of them are getting to the point where they're afraid to speak out, because
Okay.
when they do speak out about things that are some of these harder topics or harder
Mhm.
issues, when they do speak out, it's like crickets. They're
Crickets from
afraid of retaliation.
crickets from who? Okay, go ahead. You saying they crickets is so they're afraid of retaliation. Okay.
Afraid of retaliation. So one thing is, if you're coming out into the community and you're trying to get help from the brothers, other brothers in the community, maybe someone that's close to your husband, right? Or her husband.
Mhm. Mhm.
And they're, oh, well, that person, I don't see that from him. Or like you said earlier, they're afraid to even address each other because that brother that you're going to may have his own dirt. And he's like, who am
Mm.
I? Who am I to speak to this brother about what he's doing wrong? So that's the other
Okay.
thing.
Mhm.
So that just
Mhm.
speaks more, that speaks more
It's
to
just
what I
like so
said
the
at the
hole
beginning.
keeps getting bigger and deeper then,
It
huh?
gets bigger, yes. So it speaks back to the whole thing about you got to get yourself right. You have to
Mhm.
treat your family right at home, and then
Mhm.
let that be the example.
Okay.
And so that's a whole nother topic. How to how to treat your wife right at home, how to
Okay.
treat your children, and then so how you treat them at home and how you're treating them in public. But
Okay. So
we're
then let me
speaking
ask you,
about.
I'm gonna ask you a
Mhm.
question. I'm gonna ask you a question, and this is going not directly about you, but directly to you, right?
Yes.
Do you believe then for yourself and probably for other women or even men that there is not proper premarital training or premarital courses that are taking place to where people are learning how to have or exhibit this type of integrity in which you're talking about right now?
I think that there's not enough emphasis on going and getting that type of education.
Okay.
There's not enough emphasis. So myself, speaking for myself, I came from a Christian community.
Uh-huh.
So when we speak about something as simple as a dowry, I had no idea what that was, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so had I had a class that I could go to, so basically someone's interested in me and he's like, hey, there's this excellent class that they give down at the masjid. I want you to go take this class. And then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about possibilities of us being, getting married.
Okay.
So everyone plays their part in that. The thing is we shouldn't, as adults, we shouldn't have to go to imams and go all around the world to try to find out what is it that we should be doing. For instance, in my case, everyone was aware that I'm a new Muslim, or at that
Okay.
time I was a Christian. So
Mm-hmm.
I have no Muslim family members.
Mm-hmm.
So it should be, the first thing should be, okay, well, there's education. There's a lot that she doesn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Either you have, and then understanding that, hey, that man may be a little bit biased because he really just wants to get married right now.
Right.
But in the best interest of our relationship, in the best interest of the sister, I want her to go get some more information so that she won't come into this thing completely blindsided.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. This is gonna sound really ignorant of me to say this, right? But that's asking somebody to have a lot of integrity.
Yes, it is.
Right?
Yes,
So, that's
it
something that
is.
you would think, ah, man, a person can really, you would think that would be common knowledge that a person would probably act from a position of integrity. But I think you said something that was important, is that their own personal interests got
Mhm.
in the way.
Right.
And then you have some men who, well, I just want to be married, and here's somebody that I can kind of pull in and mold and shape and mold, where here's a woman saying, well, I just want to be married and he seemed like a good dude or whatever, but they don't know their they don't know their religion in a sense, or their way of life in a sense, to be able to make those informed decisions.
Correct. Correct. And that is what puts us in a dangerous zone of manipulation.
Mm,
By not having that, by relying on ourselves, meaning the man and the woman, to do
mm-hmm,
the right thing, because everyone has their agenda.
mm,
And if for instance, if the man has been divorced for a while and he's like, I need a wife right now,
right,
for whatever those reasons are, he's gonna be more, he's gonna lean more towards rushing the thing.
right,
And so, I think it's important for people to do more videos and share more, like YouTube, whatever they want to do, but share more resources so
uh-huh,
that in general, people understand some of the basic things about being in a relationship with a Muslim man or Muslim woman.
mm,
For me, I would say with a Muslim man. Because the reason I'm saying that is because the more information we share, there's a lot of information out there that's bogus. But the more
right,
information we share that is actual beneficial to both, I think
mm,
we, at some point, we could start taking our community back, because the community is only as good as your relationships, your marriages, and your family. You can't
exactly,
start you can't start with the community and then work your way back. You have to have yourself and your family grounded first before you can build a community.
right,
Because, but I mean, everyone at this point knows that, but I from my experience, I'm feeling like it's the ego that's getting in place. We have men, and I hate to say these words because I don't like to feel like I'm demeaning, so I would like it to be received in the way that I'm intending it. And
okay,
that is what I'm seeing, is there's a lot of men that have more feminine, like,
mm,
um they have more
mm.
femininity than the woman does. And
Right.
that
Well, I ain't gonna tell you. I've done several podcasts on that subject in itself. Within the last month and a half, I've done probably more on that one myself. And
mm-hmm,
but then I will ask you this, then
mm-hmm,
not setting that aside, because that's a whole nother conversation, right?
mm-hmm,
But then are we then having this expectation of perfection from people, you believe? Am I looking for a brother to be perfect, to be married, or what am I looking for out of him? If I make sense in what I'm asking.
I think I understand what you're saying. So no, we're not looking for anyone to be perfect.
Okay.
But what happens is we are looking for you to be who you say you are when we first met you.
Okay.
So
Okay.
perfection, because like I said, I speak for myself and the women that I grew up around. The women
Mhm.
in my family are really, really strong. They pretty much
Okay.
run the family. But that's
Okay.
because they had to. My grandfather passed away. What did my grandmother do? She had to step up. And she had
Right.
5 children, so it just has unfolded that way. But looking at the general population right now, a lot of women are running the house. They're
Hmm.
working, they're
Hmm.
taking care of the kids, they're trying to take care of the husband. And even when he falls short, the woman does not leave him. He could fall short a lot over and
Hmm.
over again, but the woman is not leaving him because we're looking at him like, okay, well, we're human. We're going to make mistakes. This is one phase. Let's get to the next one. This is one phase. We got past that. Then another one comes up. Okay, we got past that. Then another comes up. So women typically don't just give up on their family. They don't give up on the idea of having a family. So that's not going to be perfect. The problem is that women tend to try to pick up that slack, and then that is where she starts to feel that feeling of being devalued or not appreciated is going to
Hmm.
be elevated because she's doing a lot more. She's dragging herself, and making herself extremely tired all the time, so that one moment that he does something that seems like it's disrespectful or whatever, it's elevated, because now it's like, I'm doing all of this and you're gonna talk to me like that, or I'm doing all of
Okay.
this and you're gonna treat me like that.
Okay.
So the way that I think more of our conversation, we know all the problems, right?
Right.
But I think just channeling our conversation, like you were saying earlier, into what is it that men can do.
Right.
What is it that they can do?
Right. Well, and so from a woman's perspective, right? From a woman's
Hmm.
perspective. And again, I'm not going to put that weight on your shoulders to speak for, you know, 7 billion women out here, right? And there's only like 7
Right.
billion people in the world, probably, right? But so I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you get my understanding. I'm not trying to put all that weight of speaking for every woman
Hmm.
in the community or in the world, or if you're black or whatever, you're African American or whatever. I'm not asking you to have that, but I am asking from your perspective, right? And you have one. You just like anybody else out here. You have a perspective, and from the experience that you've had throughout life, of course, your life, and probably previous experience, and even experience which you find yourself in kind of right now, right? What is it that myself, other leaders in the community, and not to say I'm a leader in the community, but other leaders in the community who care, what is it that you can give us advice on in helping someone like you out?
The first word that comes to my mind right now is unity. So
Okay.
number one, the men have to be united. The men in the community have to be united. One man cannot make a change. But if the whole community is thinking and moving the same way, if there is a brother that's out of line and you all come together and you're all saying the same thing to him, what do you think he will do? He have no choice but to straighten up or leave the community altogether, right?
Right.
So one thing that I think for me, I reached out to a few brothers, and I intentionally only reached out to people that I thought like truly loved the, I reached out to people that I thought truly loved him, right?
Right.
Or that truly cared for the success of our marriage.
Right.
And that they seemed like people of good character from what I understood. I mean, you don't really know a person till you live with them, but from what I
Right.
understood from these individuals, that was my aim. So my aim was only to reach out to people. I didn't want to reach out to anyone that's just gonna tell me that I'm right or I'm sorry, sister, you're going through this.
Right.
Because a lot of people say that. I've heard that so much that now when I hear, I'm sorry, sister, you're going through this, it kind of sounds the same as when someone finishes something by saying, inshallah. Like that whole feeling that we get now that it's probably not going to happen. It's not going to go
Nothing's
further
going to
than
take place. Right. There's not going to be any
that.
movement that takes place.
Right.
Right.
Nothing's going to happen. So, what I remember about the community that I grew up in, like even today, even though we're all separate, everybody's married and things like that, what happens is if they see me, they're like, something's not right with you. I don't even have to come to them. They come to me and say, something's not right with you. Are you all right? Do you need
Mm-hmm.
something? And then as soon as they find out a dude is involved, they're like, you just let us know the word, you know?
Right.
So I don't even have to reach out to them. They see that there's something a little bit off and they reached out to me.
Right.
Now, a community that is not that close, the way that a brother, the community or yourself could help is if I come to you and I say, I'm having this challenge, like in the beginning, don't wait until a year later or that till things have blown up and gotten just out of hand. If I
Mm-hmm.
come to you and I say, you know what, I need help.
Mm-hmm.
What do you need help with, sis? What's going on? Don't just say, oh, I'm busy. I really can't help you right now
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not your wife. So you don't take any more time with me. Or the other person is your boy and you don't want to, hear anything negative about him. Or
Right.
maybe you
Or
just
ruffle
don't.
his feather. Or ruffle his feathers.
Right. You don't want to get him upset because they know if I come to him with something, he may get upset. It's not about that because when sisters are coming reaching out for help, I
Mm-hmm.
can almost guarantee because even me and my girlfriends, if we're reaching out for help, that's because we're trying to actually get help to resolve something, to
Mm-hmm.
resolve an issue because we want our family to be good. We want things to be right.
Right.
So we're always coming with the blueprint. We're always coming with the blueprint. And if he ain't getting it right, we need a little help sometimes. We have to
Right.
go out and you ask an uncle, you ask a brother. And for those that don't have an uncle or brother or father to go to, that's the community. Don't leave her out there just flopping around like a fish out of water because that's not fair. You're
Right.
isolating her.
Right.
So then, that's one thing. So listen first
Right.
and always go to the Quran because the Quran is our blueprint and
Right.
you will never go wrong. You will never go wrong. So you always be respectful of the sister. You hear her out. If there's some way you think you can help,
Mm-hmm.
then do help. If you don't think that you can help, find somebody that can. Do not just leave her out there because a lot of times, and I can speak for these stories that I've been hearing, you would have no idea what that woman is going through. She may be coming to you about something on the surface that she's having a problem with.
Right.
But in the turn, she may actually be getting beat at home. And you wouldn't know it if you didn't open up the door for that small thing that you think is just, a husband and wife little tit for tat or whatever. You have to open the door
Right.
and you have to make it comfortable enough for her to get to that point to tell you that. Because
Right.
what women are really in the position right now where they are afraid, actually afraid. And I've heard these words and I felt it myself. Mine, I felt it was more of a hesitation. It was more of a
Okay.
hesitation. I didn't want to upset a situation that I was trying to fix. I
Okay.
wanted to give it the room to be repaired.
Right.
But when I got the response that I got, it was like, okay, this is wonderful. Everybody's opening up to me, everyone is supporting me. But then those key people that I thought would be there to help mend, they were not. They were silent. I actually got isolated by a brother. Interesting enough, someone that knows me and my family has been around him, his wife, his children, and everything. Now, his
Mm-hmm.
wife didn't feel this way, but he actually never spoke to me about what I was going through. So he had no
Okay.
idea. He only had one side of the story, which, of
Mm-hmm.
course, if I come out with an issue, the person that's on the other side is going to defend himself. And that's all he's worried about doing at that time, right? But
Mm-hmm.
if the two of us do not come together and have a conversation, then nothing gets resolved because now it's me
So
telling
then,
my
then,
story
so
and him
then
telling
what I'm
his.
hearing, then what I'm right, because what I'm hearing you say is that if this separate tail carrying, if you will, for lack of a better way of saying it,
Mhm.
separate narratives being
Right.
put out there. You put your narrative out, and then if I'm talking to maybe another brother, the brother, then he putting his out, and I don't be able to bring you both together to kind of hear
Mhm.
what it is you're saying, then really it's just competing narrations at that point. Right.
Exactly, and nothing gets resolved.
Mm,
And what happens is at some point it spirals out of control because it
okay.
depends. It then comes to the point where how long is this person willing to keep up this fight
Do
on
you
both
think a
ends?
woman? Do you think a woman then is automatically on the losing end of that
Yes,
spectrum or that? Okay.
yes.
So
In that
how
situation,
so?
yes.
Tell me how so? How so?
So what happens is that mean when a person when another brother is here, like for instance, like the example we just gave,
Mm-hmm.
when that other brother hears from the brother what his side of the story, and they don't come back to bring the two together, now
Mm-hmm.
they've taken sides, right? So
Okay.
the person that's holding the ball is not the woman in that case. It's their
Mm,
brother.
okay.
Especially in my situation, because you have someone who the community has known for a long time. And
Mm-hmm.
9 times out of 10, the woman is not going to be as known as the man because the reason why I say that is because
I mean, he
just
and I can kind of help you with that. Well, I mean, I
yeah,
can kind of help you with that because in many cases, in majority of the cases, a man is really the one who's out there. He's in the community. People know him. They see his face. He's been around for a while or whatever. So then, if he's putting any type of work in the community, he's already built a reputation and everything. So it's going to be a natural benefit of the doubt that's just going to lean his way.
right. And usually women are what? We're with kids and we're with the family, we're doing this and that. You see us when you see us.
Right.
So yes. So in that case, then it's like you're automatically on the losing end. For me, I'm very resilient. I
Okay.
believe I have a very strong faith. And so
Okay.
for me, I have leaned on my faith. So regardless of how 5 people think of me, I have 250 more that are supporting me. So I
Okay.
cannot allow the 5 to discourage me from doing the right thing or for
Okay.
standing up.
Okay.
So I just
Now,
I
that's some good odds, 40 to 1. That's a good odds, 40 to 1, right? That's some good odds, you know.
It's a
And
really good
so,
odds. When you have a law on your side, I'm gonna tell you, I've
mhm,
learned some things. When you have a law on your side and you know it, and then you
mhm,
start to see it manifest in that way in your own personal life, it's a whole nother thing. I think even from this, just personally, I've gotten more fight in me because of hearing other women's stories and the
okay,
fact that they have been suffering in silence for a while,
okay,
and some of them still are.
mhm,
And the type of stories that I've heard is very disheartening. To for them to say, well, I can't go to anybody and say why, and they'll say because other women have gone to people and they get isolated or they get you know
ostracized
so
in a
much
sense, right,
backlash.
right,
Yes, they get so much
mhm,
backlash, and they're like, do I really want to deal with all of that? I'm gonna be honest. It feels like it makes the men appear like thugs, if I were to say it that way.
mm,
It makes them appear this way. And I know my African American brothers that I know are beautiful. So for
right,
me, it hurts me to say, okay, we have this narrative that's painted by other races, right?
right,
This lie that they believe about African American men, anyways. But
mhm,
we're the African American men, by the way that they're treating their women and their family, they're now creating another narrative even within us, African American women, about them because this is our experience. This is not something that's fake. This is what we've experienced. Regardless of how you got there, you have to know what you're doing now today. You cannot blame anyone else for your own behavior, especially if you're a religious person, meaning that if you are a Muslim or
mhm,
if you're a Christian. I always say Muslim or Christian because of my background, but it's
right,
more so because we believe in one God
okay,
and we have the blueprint. So if you
right,
started in the Christian Bible and then and you were led to the Quran, now you really should be on top of your game because you
right,
know exactly what you should be doing. There was
Right.
no excuse, none. And for a man have to think about this too. Number one, do you want to be happy? Do you want to be happily married? Do you want to come home to a wife that is happy to see you every day? You know, do you like that feeling? Do you really want it? Because if you do, then there's work that has to be done, and it has to start with yourself. And then just, I mean, if you listen to your wife, if you read the Quran and you listen to your wife, you have the blueprint that you need to have a happy family. You
Okay.
just have,
Now here's why I'm gonna push back with you at this. Right
yes,
now, you know
yes.
me. I told you this will happen. Right. So here's where the pushback come in at.
Mhm.
I, as a man, hear my wife tell me I need to obey the Quran and listen to my wife. Right. That automatically puts me in a headspace of where, what is it? I thought that pecking order supposed to have been different. I thought it was be obey Allah, obey His messenger, then me. I'm hearing my wife tell me the Quran, then my wife. Right? You get where I'm coming from, and so I'm not saying that that's what you're saying. I'm saying if I am a man and
Mhm.
I'm listening to what it is that you just told me, right? You just said here is that I need to be listening to you. Put that in perspective, right? Because I want your message to be heard, but I don't want anybody to be walking. I'm trying to cut off all avenues for anybody to wiggle out of anything that might take place here. Right now, it ain't gonna be 100%, but I'm trying to cut off all avenues. So
Mhm.
again, that's what my pushback to you will come in. Put that in perspective. What
Mhm.
do you mean after hearing the Quran? Listen to your wife. What is it that you're trying to say here?
So the head of the house is the man, your head of
Mm-hmm.
house, all right, the husband. And then you
Mm-hmm.
have the wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with all the things that the wife carry and things that her just her presence or the lack of her presence, the way it can shift things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I say listen to your wife, it's not her sitting there telling you what to do.
Okay. All
You
right.
paying attention to the things that make her happy, paying
Okay.
attention to the things that make her feel uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's verbal, sometimes it's a physical. You can see, you know,
Okay.
what she's, you can feel the energy a lot of times you walk in the room. You can
Mm-hmm.
feel it. And the thing that's interesting, I've always found this interesting that a lot of men don't know, and some men don't understand is
Mm-hmm.
how the power of a man can shift your entire relationship. Meaning that anything that the man does shifts the energy in your family, the relationship between your family.
Yeah.
So if
And
you are
I think that kind of goes both ways, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
I think men and women have that type of influence,
Right.
right?
That's correct.
Right. I think
That's
everybody has. I think a marital relationship should have that type of influence. So we
mhm,
should be aware of what takes
mhm.
place, right?
It
So
does, but I want to say one thing. It
okay.
is and it may be because it's missed a lot of times, but no,
Okay.
it's the man. I say the man is stronger because as a wife, my husband comes in, he's upset. Now I'm worried about him.
Okay.
Everything. I'm worried
Okay.
about him. I want
I
to know if
get
he's
that. I
okay.
get that. I
So
get that.
if we're talking to men right now, if we're talking to the
Right.
brothers specifically right
Right.
now, and
Right.
you want to know, you can shift everything because I mean, that's why you get the guys that are real smooth with it and they know how to do all this. They know how to make her giggle. They know how to do
Mhm.
this, or
They can
whatever. They know
finesse
how
it.
to
They know how
change
to
her mood.
finesse the
When she's
situation.
upset,
Right.
they know how to finesse it, but change that into the positive.
Okay.
Use it for good. Use it to
Right.
help, build your relationship with your wife instead of manipulate.
Right. Right. Okay, I get what it is that you're saying
Mhm.
in that regard, and I want to make sure that our listeners are paying attention. Is that no, we're not talking about a woman or a man bowing down to his woman. But what we
Right.
also here are talking about is how we can have real dialogue,
Mm-hmm.
right? To make sure that she is being felt, she's understanding her emotional safety, physical safety, psychological or mental safety. All these things are important, right? And as a man, you can shift a lot of that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, internally as far as in the house, and externally for a woman outside of the home,
Right.
right? Because if I was to show up and to say if I got some type of I'm affluent within the community, and I can come in and say, hey, look, now this, and here's man talk, man, that bent be crazy, man, that bent be tripping or everything. And again, sisters, I don't want you to feel like I'm disrespecting you. I'm just using, I'm just talking how men talk sometimes, right? And so when we start using these derogatory statements, and then talking to other people, we then start influencing other people outside of the home to look
Right.
at our spouse a particular way. So it's a
Right.
setup. It's a
Right.
setup that's actually taking place. And what I'm hearing you say for a woman in this space, that a lot of women are even scared to even present things to other men for fear of the retaliation, that they may be ostracized within the community, that they may be tainted as, a problem sister, or this independent sister, or this sister who has this masculine energy, or this sister who is disobedient, or she's rebellious, or all
Mm-hmm.
these other terms, when I'm just trying to be heard.
Just trying to be heard, and maybe looking for help. Like seriously, they,
Right.
like I was saying before, that person that's probably being physically abused is not going to come straight to anyone and say, hey, I'm being beat at home. I've been, getting beat for the last 3 years, every other day, every other week. They're not going to just come out and say that,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of mental manipulation and abuse that goes on also when it comes to physical abuse.
Hmm.
There's a lot of other things that are attached to it. So there's the you have the physical and you have the mental. So when you're dealing with the mental, you have to take the mind in order to keep her quiet that long, anyways. Because now you're saying, "Oh well, he just went through something. He had a bad day," and she's giving him all these excuses, but he's beating
Okay.
her. So anyone would say, "Why would you stay in a relationship if somebody's beating you?" You can't ask that question anymore, because there's other type of mind control and things that's going on in that situation. So for a brother, if a sister is coming to you, just be open, because you have to think about it too. Your own sister, your blood sister, your cousins, your mom, and your daughters, they could be going through the same thing. Do you think they're going to come to you? I had someone picking on me once, and
Okay.
physically, and it wasn't my boyfriend. It was somebody just an annoying person.
Right.
And I was afraid. I was think
And this is
I was
pre-Islam.
like,
You saying something pre-Islam at this point,
it
right?
was pre-Islam, pre-Islam.
Okay.
And
I
so
want to make sure you were clear.
I have a beautiful family, right? I have a
Mhm.
beautiful, like, God-fearing family.
Okay.
And I'm always baby girl. I've always been baby girl. That's just how they view me.
Right.
And so I was afraid to go to my uncle, because I have four uncles and my mom was the only girl. And so I
Hmm.
have four uncles and I have my grandfather. So I could say I have five plus all of my cousins
Right.
that would be protect me without question. And but
Right.
I was afraid to go to my uncle, the one that told me, if anybody's messing with you, you make sure you let me know. When I got a little older, he said, now if you think you can handle him yourself, he said, okay, I'm here for you though. But I was afraid to go to him because I thought he would get in trouble,
Right.
right? And that, something would happen to him because of this person, like it would get turned around and he would get in trouble. So the fear comes from so many different ways, but I was clearly not able to fight this person myself. This man, this other boy, I couldn't
Hmm.
fight him. He's very big and strong.
Hmm.
But because of my fear, my point is, because of my fear, I didn't say anything. I did everything I could to survive that crazy person.
Okay.
Um, so in a relation, when it's in a relationship, when we're talking about now as adults, the men in the community have a responsibility to protect the women. We know that, and we've been all
Right.
taught, right? So I would think that no one can say that they don't know how to, but that's not fair, because people will say, "Well, I'm married, and I know there's a thin line. We're not supposed to be communicating with other women." Or being open to other women in this way. So there's a thin line. If you're opening yourself up to this other woman to come talk to you, then your wife may think that this other person is trying to get with you or something. So some men really
Okay.
do just try to stay clear of any type of problems, and they don't
Right.
they don't know how to, you know um but I just think, if you guys could hear the stories that I've heard, if any woman came to you, you would listen. You could even go and get your wife if you need to. And in that case, go and get your wife and have your wife to check on her. Go and get your wife to go and probe and ask more questions and see if she's okay, in a safe environment. Or the two of you can go speak with her together. Just find a way. Do not ever just shut someone down, because you truly don't know what they could be going through.
Hmm.
And they're usually not gonna come right out and tell you.
So as we have this conversation, and we get ready to start wrapping this conversation up, I want to make
Mhm.
sure that we have an understanding of fear. Everybody sitting have on this podcast have an understanding of fear. And fearful women are something totally different from men, right? Obviously, a lot of women definitely fear, if nothing more so than anything else, physical lack of physical safety, right? And what that, even if it's the threat of lack of physical safety, right? So I do get that, right? I've heard it, and I even have to be mindful of it myself, right? Because I'm a man. It's easy to be in a man's space, right? 6'3", 295 pounds, 90 pounds, right? It's easy to be in a man's space, right? And so I think I do understand that. I want everyone to be able to understand too, as we have this conversation, and I think it's important, Aisha, that you are here today, that for a man with another man, there's a different fear. And it's unfortunate that we have men who would justify the actions of other men when they are wrong. Even unless a woman is just bald faced, or even another man is bald faced lying, right?
Mhm.
Just telling a straight out lie about somebody else. There may be some truth to it. Now, if it get bent a little bit and stretched or flexed a little bit or whatever, fear Allah, right? More so importantly than any fear than anything else, fear Allah, right? Fear
Mhm.
God, right? But I want us to recognize, because there's something that is very important here in which you are bringing to the table that I don't want to be lost, is that the only way a woman can be protected is by, well, not the only way, but the surefire way a woman can be protected is by men, right? And that's not only the man who is over her, but the men who are vicariously or indirectly over her as well, right?
Right.
Um, so I know, for instance, and I share this even here, when something was going on wrong with me, and I was something that was been, my wife was mad about me. What she did is went to my boy, my sheikh. I call him my sheikh. Is the elder, and it was known that when he speak, he gonna listen, right? He has that much respect for, not just men, but that man, right?
Mhm.
That, even though I didn't like it, right? I ain't gonna sit and say my ego didn't get in the way, right?
Mhm.
But nevertheless, I still had to listen to right. And I believe if we as men, and in support of what it is that you are actually talking about today, if we can then say, hey, look, it may not be all what she's saying, but it is something she's saying. Where do you fall in line with being wrong here? If we can then be in a position, and I'm talking to, not only in disregard for you and what you've been through, but other women who've been told things by others, other women who've been told things to other men. And I'm saying that correctly, for women who have told men to get support and help, it may not all be what you say it is. And if it isn't, then may Allah deal with that the way he needs to deal with that. But where are
Mhm.
you wrong in this situation? And if you are wrong, wherever you are wrong with, take accountability, man
Mhm.
up, take accountability, and correct yourself, right? I'm hearing you say that this is something that is not taking place. Even if they say, for instance, even if someone wasn't to believe every word that you or any other woman say, unless they are willing to just call you a flat out liar, which I hope no one would do that, right? Then
Mhm.
that means somewhere along the line, she is saying something that has harmed her. She's been harmed. And so if she's been harmed, then where are you harming her? And where you are harming her, that's where you need to stop. And so in my commentary in this situation right here is that, brothers, what I'm saying to all of us, and the closest ears to my mouth is my own, quit looking for justifications and massaging ayats and verses of the Quran or the biblical scriptures or whatever to justify stand in the corner of your boy. The time for the boys club is over. The time for just we're gonna hook somebody up because he's my dude. I can't begin to tell you how many sisters that have crossed my desk getting caught up in because his boy married her to him, was her guardian, and then when it came up to he know the trips of this guy, he knows the faults of this guy, but yet and still he still did not let it be known. He did not check him. He did not advise him. He did not do anything. And when that woman spoke up, he sided with him.
Mhm.
And we have to bear witness to the truth, even if it be against ourselves. And what I'm hearing you say today is this is how women can be supported if men just quit backing the foolishness and the wrong of their friends. Stop doing that and protect the interests of the women and the children. Now, that's not going to say that I'm going to give, and I ain't going to tell you no lie. I'm not going to give every woman just a black card to just do and buy anything she want to buy. It ain't going to happen. I'm not giving a dude that, but we have to then get good information. That means if I come to you, I come to the brother, and this is not that arena, but I'm saying for the
Mhm.
people who you went to, if they can't pull you both together and have a conversation to come up with a solution, how you can do something different, then they are a part of the problem. And I'm hearing you say, not from just from your mouth and from the things that you've heard from other sisters, that this has been the issue, is that when women come up, they're scared to even say anything now because their concerns are going to fall on deaf ears, and more and even worse, they're going to be the one who's persecuted.
Correct. Correct.
And so I want to make sure that, in having you on again, it's about straighten the crown of our brothers. That's a motto that we have for the Get Made podcast, is we straighten the crown of our brothers. This is not to call any particular one person out. Um, As you say, we have not called a name out on this podcast, right? People
Mhm.
who know is just people who know. But nevertheless, this is an overall thing for everybody who are concerned about the state of our community, the state of these marriages. We have to get out of this 4 or 5 year marriage and then we recycling out and then we marry somebody else. And part of that problem too, and sister, this is something that even, and I go back to this comment, even that happened to you because you're a new Muslim. And what happened to new Muslims that come in, they get married to a brother, the brother that probably kind of like walked them in or brought them in, that they really don't know much about that guy, and they didn't get the education about how to be a Muslim. They got the Shahada, and next thing you know, they got married, right? They didn't know, right from left. They didn't know up from down. Only thing they know is that okay, I'm with this dude. Everybody else say he's a good guy, but then when I get in here, this dude is crazy, right? And even for brothers, I ain't gonna sit and act like even for brothers. Some of you brothers again is about straightening the crown of my brothers. You catching women like this, and next thing you know, you don't know what this woman's about either. You haven't vetted
Mhm.
anything.
Right.
Right? And so I want us to be a lot more cautious. I want us to do a lot more homework, have a little bit. We can't know everything. Again, I think you alluded to this earlier. The way you only really going to know a person if you do one or three things, or these three things. You're living with them, you travel with them, you're eating with them. Right? That's the
Mhm.
only time you're really going to get to know someone. Right? But after that, you can ask a whole lot of daggone questions and find out and take your time
Mhm.
about how you get involved. So, one, that becomes the secondary thing of having to tell another brother about the state of my affairs at my house, right, with my husband. That becomes a secondary thing because I probably won't have to be in that position in the first place. But
Mhm.
if I do, I actually know the right people to then have that conversation with,
Right.
and
Mhm.
therefore I then can be protected a lot better.
Right.
Right. So, any closing statements from you as before we close out for the day? And again, I thank you for being on today. Any closing words from you?
Yes, when your women, your children feel comfortable in a community, that's when you'll see the community strive. And again, all of that strength lies on and has been given to the man. Even if you're not there now, you can be, you should be. You should be at some point and definitely working towards it. Because women are leading because we have to, not because we want to. We don't
Okay.
want to be leading anything that's not the natural order. We need to
Mhm.
get natural order back into our family, and our community can thrive from that.
Okay. All right. Well, with that, one last question for you. For
Yeah.
you, have you given up hope on the Black Muslim man? Have you given up hope on him?
My hope lies in Allah. Allah is
Mm-hmm.
everything for me. So I can't speak on what I feel like I would like or not like or whatever what have you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think I can tell you how I feel.
Okay.
But from what I've seen, it's like, it looks very grim. It looks
Okay.
very grim. So this is why I understand now why women say, and there's a lot of Muslim women that are out here now that do not want to get married again. They're just living their lives. Because we cannot marry outside of the Muslim community, or a Muslim woman cannot marry a non-Muslim man. So that automatically limits our choices here. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's like, okay, if I want to walk this way and I want to walk right, then my chances are very slim. So it will take the will and the work of Allah to bring me anyone at this point. without me taking them through a whole ringer of things. But I'm a fair person, and like I said, I mean, to be honest, I have to